Kurt Cobain's guitars don't come up for grabs too often, but when they do, music fans and investors come out in full force to attempt to capture a unique piece of history, no matter its condition or relevance. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here are the top 10 most expensive Kurt Cobain-owned guitars. Number 10. Univox Phase 3 High Flyer. In 2016, Kurt's Univox Phase 3 High Flyer was sold at Julien's auctions for $56,250 to the sixth bidder. It had a natural finish and a maple fingerboard. This guitar was likely used to record the Bleach album, as according to producer Jack Endino, only high flyers were used, so it was likely either this one, his Sunburst Phase 3, or a combination of both, as Floyd the Barber, Paper Cuts, and Downer were done on an earlier session. This guitar can be seen in the video recordings from May 26, 1989 at Green River Community College in Auburn, Washington, and in June at Evergreen State College at a live recording session for Dive and a Kiss cover of Do You Love Me. Sometime in June 1989, red paint was added by Kurt to the body and headstock to give it a more sunburst look as shown on the June 23rd show at Rhino Records. The Univox was eventually smashed up at Maxwell's in Hoboken, New Jersey on July 13, 1989. The guitar was sold with a letter of provenance from Janet Billing Rich, who worked as a distributor for Sub Pop Records starting in 1988. It is stated that the guitar body was gifted to her by Kurt personally following the Maxwell's show during the band's stay at her apartment in New York City. I believe this Univox is now owned by the Paul Allen estate, the co-founder of Microsoft, and was at one time loaned to the Mopop Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle for display. Number 9. Aria Pro 2 CS250. Kurt Cobain's Aria Pro 2 CS250 Cardinal Series guitar is one of the lesser known and seemingly low importance instruments that he played live, but that didn't stop the splintered wood body from selling at auction for $81,250 in 2018. The Aria was used throughout early May of 1990 up until its destruction at the Motorsports International Garage in Seattle on September 22, 1990. The Aria survived this period in which they had a break from touring from May 14, 1990 up until August 16th when drummer Chad Channing was let go and then Dale Crover of the Melvins returned for a brief second go-around. The Aria was dethroned from the number 1 spot by Kurt's rare Mosrite Gospel. A man named Richard Newland, who was working security at the Motorsports International Garage Show, grabbed the main part of the body and took it home. It was later displayed at the Mopop exhibit in Seattle before it was eventually auctioned off by Julien's Auctions. Another unknown fan picked up a smaller piece of the body and has later posted a picture of it on the Ground Guitar website stating it was a good show. Number 8. Black In Utero Tour Stratocaster. A black Fender Stratocaster guitar used by Kurt during the 1993 to 1994 In Utero tour sold for $128,000 in 2020. According to Jim Vincent, Cobain's guitar tech, Kurt had 5 of these left-handed black Strats with white pickguards, and they were shipped by Fender specifically for the end-of-set jamming and destruction. They were typically smashed at the end of the shows on the songs Blue or Endless Nameless. This guitar has a number 2 sticker on the back. Kurt gifted the guitar to a lucky audience member after a performance in Rennes, France on February 16, 1994. It was auctioned off with a 3-page letter of provenance signed by Guillaume Henault Daniel Herve, the audience member who received the guitar. The guitar remains in the original condition. According to the letter, he was in the front row of the concert, and at the end, Kurt came back on stage alone holding a guitar that he did not play at that particular show and tried to hand the fan the guitar. A huge surge of people coming toward Kurt led him to have security help the fan up and enter the backstage area to receive the guitar. Everything seems to be stock except for the neck and the neck plate, so it seems that this guitar was smashed at a prior performance, or several, and then rebuilt. The tuning keys are Goto, which Kurt preferred. These Strats were probably used during the American leg of the In Utero tour, from early October until the year's end. Of these 5 well-documented In Utero guitars, at least 2 were destroyed beyond repair, both of them being sold by Jim Vincent. The 3rd was sold at auction, and the 4th was sold privately. Of the 2 whole guitars sold, one was left unused and is in Cobain's archives, and the other is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Museum. This one is the 5th guitar and the 3rd one that is fully playable. Number 7. Mosrite Gospel. Kurt's rare Mosrite Gospel was sold in April of 2006 in the amount of $131,450. This Mosrite is significant as it was likely used to some capacity by Kurt to record their second album Nevermind. It was built around 1969 during their bankruptcy period. It is believed to have been purchased by Kurt at Real Guitars in San Francisco in August of 1990, and it was first used on August 17th at the Hollywood Palladium. The last live use of the Mosrite may have been on February 9th, 1991 at the Mushroom in Olympia, as at that time Kurt seemed to be favoring the left-handed white K record Strat. After a show on May 29th, 1991 at the Jabberjaw in LA, the Mosrite was stolen along with the K record Strat. The Mosrite eventually ended up being sold at a pawn shop and then ended up on display at the Mopop Museum in Seattle. Number 6. Memphis Strat Copy. In late November of 2024, a red Memphis branded Telecaster copy was sold by Hakes Auctions in Pennsylvania for $157,773. This Memphis branded guitar was built in Japan by the Matsuzaka factory and was played by Kurt Cobain and destroyed on stage in Olympia, Washington at Evergreen State College for the No More Wars benefit show on January 18, 1991, and that was back before they had made it big. It was used for just the one song, the finale Endless Nameless, after Kurt used a hammer to smash it up. According to the auction house, during the post-destruction melee, concert attendee Chris Brady, the bassist for the band Pawn, was able to escape with the guitar tucked under his coat. Upon returning back to his home in Portland, Oregon, he gifted the guitar to a friend and fellow Nirvana fan Janelle Giraz, owner of Ozone Records and singer-guitarist in the Portland local band Trailer Queen. Brady presented it as the final gift during a surprise birthday party for Giraz at her record shop not long after the show. Giraz used the guitar as part of the record store window display that was entered in the national contest sponsored by MTV and won, receiving a backstage experience at a Nirvana show in Seattle. The guitar remained at the record store over the years, and then when the shop closed, she took it home to look after it until she decided to let it go to a new home. Number 5. Sky Stang 3. Sky Stang 3 went up for auction in 2019 and sold for $340,000. This is one of the guitars that were built in Japan by Scott Zimmerman, a luthier based at the Fujijin factory. Of course, of the 10, only 4 were received, and 3 were played on the Utero tour. This one probably wasn't used on the tour, but it still was his guitar and modded for him, just like the others, a near clone to Sky Stang 2, which also had the black JB humbucker at the bridge position. Sky Stang 3 was eventually gifted to a fan by Courtney Love just 3 months after Kurt's death, and then sadly the boy's parents decided to screw him over and sell it on him. At one time this guitar was displayed in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Number 4. Cream Argentina Strat. Coming in at number 4, we're going to call this one the Cream Argentina Strat or the VMA Strat, which notably was played and destroyed in Buenos Aires, Argentina on October 30th, 1992. It was sold in November of 2023 for $476,250. The guitar was signed by the entire band and has a poem written by Dave Grohl. It was a Fender Strat which was made in Japan and reportedly first used on Valentine's Day 1992 in Osaka, Japan. It was smashed at the end of that show, but then repaired and used again in Honolulu, Stockholm, and then again at the MTV Music Awards show in LA, probably getting some different parts as time went on. The auction house stated the original recipient was promised a guitar from a radio contest on the BBC in July of 1992, along with tickets to the August 30th, 1992 Reading Festival show. However, that guitar was not available, so months later, the winner received the damaged and signed Buenos Aires cream-colored guitar instead. Number 3. Sky Stang 1. Kurt Cobain's 1993 Fender Mustang, known as the Sky Stang 1, sold at auction for more than $1.5 million. The auction was won by Japan-based businessman Mitsuru Sato, who paid the final price of $1,587,500. The Sky Stang 1 was used heavily on the Utero tour, showing up on 53 of the tour's 63 shows, including the band's MTV Live and Loud appearance and Cobain's last Nirvana show on March 1st, 1994, at Terminal 1 in Munich, Germany. Sky Stang 1 looks very similar to Sky Stang 2 and 3, but stands out mainly due to its white bridge humbucker pickup and yellowish V marking on the pickguard. Following Kurt Cobain's death, the Sky Stang was passed on to his brother Chad Cobain, who loaned it to the Mopop exhibit in Seattle, before eventually going to auction in November of 2023. Today, Sky Stang 1 has to easily be in the top 3 most desirable guitars in which Nirvana fans clone. Number 2. 1969 Competition Mustang. Kurt Cobain's 1969 Fender Competition Mustang was purchased by Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay in the amount of $4,550,000 for his Jim Irsay collection of historic rock and roll memorabilia. The Mustang is best known for its appearance in the Smells Like Teen Spirit music video, their signature song and major breakthrough hit. Aside from its stunning blue burgundy paint scheme, racing stripe, and matching headstock, this guitar played a vital part in launching Nirvana's popularity. Although not used nearly as much live as his Sunburst Jaguar, it certainly was not a case queen. The guitar first appeared publicly in a live performance during Nirvana's record release party held at Beehive Records in Seattle on September 16, 1991, just prior to the official release of Nevermind. Kurt was photographed playing it during Nirvana's Nevermind tour, including the performances at the First Avenue Club in Minneapolis on October 14th, and at the Trees Club in Dallas, Texas on October 19, 1991. The Trees Club show, of course, is where it received a nasty neck joint break after he used it to smash up a mixing board. The guitar was eventually fixed up and received the Tune-O-Matic style bridge, hot rail humbucker, and the lock tremolo, and was back in business for the 1993 Hollywood Rock Festival set in Brazil. The guitar was on display at Mopop, the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle, from 2010 up until it was removed from the exhibition floor in April 2022 for the auction. So here we are now, we've arrived at the granddaddy of them all. Number 1. Kurt Cobain's Martin D18E. In June 2020, Australian businessman and Rode Microphones owner Peter Friedman purchased Kurt Cobain's Martin D18E for an amazing $6,010,000, which I believe sets the record for the most expensive guitar ever. The D18E was used for Nirvana's classic MTV Unplugged in New York show and subsequent live album, which is highly regarded. The Unplugged show and this guitar serve as an earmark in time, reminding us of the greatness of Kurt, who performed brilliantly despite acoustic performing being out of the norm of his main act. Kurt's D18E was the seventh of only 302 made and produced only from 1958 to 1959 as an early electric acoustic guitar. Kurt's was modded with the 3AV Bartolini pickup at the sound hole. Eric from Nirvana Guitar's YouTube channel has an amazing video about the history, timeline, and modifications of Kurt's Martin. Prior to the 2020 auction, in 2018 it was reported that Kurt's daughter, Frances Bean Cobain, had left the instrument to her ex-husband, Isaiah Silva, as part of their divorce settlement. Okay, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.